Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going on a super fast journey to see how our crazy, connected world actually got built. We're talking factories, new ideas, the whole shebang. All right, let's jump right in.
It's a fantastic question, isn't it? We see it every day, but have you ever stopped to think about how this all started? This incredible global web? Well, it has a long and fascinating history that really took off. So the big word we're talking about here is globalization. But listen, this isn't just some modern buzzword from a business class. It's a story with deep roots, and the 19th century is where things really kicked into overdrive and changed, well, pretty much everything.
Okay, so here's what we've got lined up. We'll start with the big picture, then zoom into the machines that powered it all, the people who actually lived through this change, how this brand new world was sold to everyone, and finally the ideas that started moving just as fast as the products. Ready? Let's do this.
All right, first things first, let's paint the big picture here. We're diving into a time of absolutely massive change, both economically and socially, and it was all set off by one of history's greatest game changers.
The Industrial Revolution, it was way more than just steam engines and big factories. It completely redrew the map of the world economy. This was the spark, the beginning of the hyper-connected world we all live in today.
Okay, so how did this actually look on the ground? Let's go from these huge ideas right down to the noise and chaos of the factory floor, where one man made a decision that sounds, well, kind of crazy.
Now you have to read that again. Henry Ford said that doubling what he paid his workers was his best cost-cutting move. Wait, what? How in the world does that even work? Paying people more to save money? It sounds totally backwards. So in January 1914, Ford did something unbelievable. He started paying his workers $5 a day. You have to understand, that was a massive amount of money back then, more than double what most people were making. Why? Because the work on his assembly lines was so brutal and fast that he couldn't keep workers from quitting. The $5 day changed everything overnight. So, what was the deal? Aakhir hua kya tha? Well, there was a catch. It was a classic trade-off. Ford gave them incredible pay, but in return, he got complete control. He banned trade unions, and he could speed up the assembly line whenever he wanted. He made back all that extra wage money and a lot more by just cranking up the efficiency. But here's the truly brilliant part. His workers could now actually afford to buy the cars they were building. He was creating his own customers.
But we have to remember, all this amazing industrial progress wasn't just about profits and cars. This progress had a human cost. Iski ek insani कीमत भी थी. So let's look at the story of someone who was right in the middle of it.
Let's talk about a guy named Will Thorne. In 1881, he walked all the way to London, completely desperate to find a job. Just listen to his words. Him and his friend, out of money in 3 days, sleeping under haystacks. It just shows you the raw hardship and uncertainty that millions were facing.
And the thing is, Will's story, it wasn't a one-off. This was the reality for thousands upon thousands of people. They were on the move, chasing this dream of a factory job, often with absolutely nothing to their name but a hope for something better.
So you've got all these factories just pumping out stuff like never before. That creates a whole new problem, right? How do you get people to actually buy it all? The answer, of course, was advertising.
See, ads back then, they weren't just saying, hey, buy this. No, they were selling a lifestyle. They were creating needs you didn't even know you had, making their products seem like an essential part of being modern. They were literally building the consumer from the ground up.
And this is where it gets really clever. Look at how British companies adapted their ads for different places. To sell things like gripe water or Sunlight soap in India, they didn't use British imagery. No, they used images that were familiar and deeply trusted. Gods, goddesses, and divine figures.
It was a brilliant strategy, right? You see a god or a respected king like Maharaja Ranjit Singh on a label for cloth, and it immediately sends a message. It says, this product is approved, it's trustworthy. It was just a genius way to build a connection and gain trust in a totally new market.
Okay, but it wasn't just physical stuff like cloth and soap moving around the world.
Something else was traveling just as fast, maybe even faster: ideas. And they were being powered by a different kind of engine: the printing press.
Suddenly, with the printing press going into overdrive, you have this explosion of public debate. It was a total game changer. For the first time, everyday people could read newspapers and pamphlets that talked about huge ideas: religion, politics, society, all in their own language. And hey, it wasn't all just text. Images, like this cartoon right here, wow. They could spread really complex ideas about fairness and injustice in a single glance. Think of it like the original viral meme. It was powerful, and it got people talking, and more importantly, thinking.
And that all leads us to this one final really big question. When you have all these new ideas about rights and freedom and equality spreading like wildfire through print, is it possible that this created the perfect conditions for a massive revolution? Some historians think so. It really makes you wonder about the power of the media we consume today. What do you think?